Tesla and Panasonic, Red Bull and GoPro, Kanye and Adidas. Rest in peace. Company collaborations are everywhere. Sometimes they want to spice things up a bit and work together. Better yet, sometimes even competing companies will work together. Sometimes they decide they want to create something beautiful, something breathtaking, spectacular even. They get in bed together and a few months later, out pops the most amazing new car of the year. It's happening all around us. You may have heard of one of the most ambitious collaborations this world has ever seen. Today, we're checking out the BMW M1. Now let's talk about Ferrari for a second. No, they're not behind the M1. Ferrari is a racing company first, and a car company second. They sell cars to fund their budget for developing race cars. In a lot of these races, there are homologation rules that say any car you want to use in a race has to be a public production car with a certain number of units produced. This rule has led to numerous awesome cars being built, from the BMW E30 M3 to the Subaru Impreza 22B STI, to even the Dodge Charger Daytona. Another car we can thank the racing world for is the BMW M1. So way back in 1972, BMW needed a car to compete in Group 5 racing against their rival, Porsche. The Group 5 division at this time was made to include homologated production cars. Now this was for the fourth generation of Group 5 racing, and it took place from 1976 to 1982, and some real beauties were competing in this one, like the Porsche 935, the Nissan Silvia, and the Mazda RX-7. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. The head designers asserted that the car must be mid-engine, which would help outdo its competitors. Their design came out to be the wedge-shaped beauty of an M1 we have today. Just one thing, a problem arose when it came to production. You see, the racing division's rules said that 400 cars must be produced for the street within a certain time period in order to be eligible for the race. BMW's factories didn't really have the capacity to do that. So here's where the collaboration comes into the picture. They needed somebody to help build these cars. Who better than Lamborghini? They offered a touch of help with the design too. It wasn't long before Lamborghini had some issues though. They actually went bankrupt in 1978 and ended up under new management soon after. This meant that even the beloved Italian brand didn't have the capacity to build these things either. So BMW took back control of the M1 project. Unfortunately, this obviously caused some delays, making the car ineligible for the Group 5 race. So it actually moved down to Group 4 to compete against cars that included the Porsche 924 and the Ford Escort. Since Lamborghini ended up not being able to do much in the way of helping the design since their bankruptcy, a couple of engineers that previously worked at Lamborghini formed a new company called Ital Engineering to help with the final design. The M1 was actually the first car developed by BMW M, or BMW's motorsport division. Production began in 1978 and ended in 1981 until 453 examples were produced, 53 of which were made for racing. The body style took lots of inspiration from the wild-looking 1972 BMW Turbo concept, of which only 2 were built. The production of these things was all over the place, literally. I mean, the body was partly made in Modena, Italy. The chassis was made by another company just down the road, and the rest of the body and interior were put together in turn. Then they were shipped to Mönchengladbach, Germany for the final assembly by hand, including putting in the engines, which were delivered from Munich. Lastly, the cars were finally shipped back to Munich, where BMW Motorsport made the final inspection and shipped out the cars to the customers. The BMW M1 was powered by the 3.5-liter M88 24-valve inline-six engine. This is the same thing that kept the E24 M6 and E28 M5 on the road. This thing was pretty awesome for the time, with individual throttle bodies, and made 273 horsepower and 243 foot-pounds of torque. It was mated to a 5-speed Manny-Tranny too, baby. But the interior was pretty plain Jane, and it looked like it could have come out of just any BMW. That's because it was made with parts from other BMWs. Who would have thought, right? And it was off to the races for the BMW M1. In 1979, before all the cars were even built, the head of BMW Motorsport, started up a championship race series in '79 before all the correction so that the car could compete in Group 4. Now, this was a race series that ran for 2 years, and it was called the Pro Car BMW M1 Championship. And it would feature only the brand new BMW M1 with some modifications. Every car in this race would be built to identical spec and would be driven by F1 drivers. In addition to competing in the Group 4 races, they used the M1 Pro cars for various other championships, including, but not limited to, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It was off to a rocky start though. The cars saw mixed success in the beginning, and only in 1984 actually ended up being its most successful year. Driver Bernard Beguin won back-to-back races at Rallye de la Baule and Rallye de Lorraine, among various other victories. And 84 was actually the last year that this car was raced. The car should have been more successful though. They couldn't develop turbos for the pro cars because they were too busy building other stuff, and the engines just had tons of issues. The budget for the BMW Motorsport was dropped by as much as 75%, meaning the M1 was just too costly to be turned into the proper race car BMW wanted at the start. And, well, there wasn't much reason to keep on making them after they hit 400 units because people wanted to buy sedans, not sports cars like the M1. And it's a sad story, really. Money issues, time issues, race regulations, a changing market, and mixed reviews at the time meant that the M1 could not see further production. Some would say that the car ended up being a complete failure, but I'll tell you, that would be a lie. By today's standards, this thing is one of the coolest Beamers ever made. This thing is legendary. BMW Motorsport's first car, BMW's first mid-engine car, and their first and only supercar, 273 horsepower. I mean, I could go on and on about this car. The M1 inspired tons of other models, including the E30 and E46 M3 and E28 and E39 M5. So many people wish that they could drive one of these today, including me, but the price tag around $500,000 makes that kinda hard. A new version of the M1 was a dream that kinda became a reality in 2008. For the 30th anniversary of the M1, BMW unveiled the M1 Homage concept car. It was revealed at the Concorso d'Eleganza Villa d'Este. It was a total beauty that took inspiration from the M1 and BMW Turbo concept. One of my favorite parts is that it has the double BMW badges on the back like the original M1. Sadly, this car was shown without a motor and was never intended to see any road time, as it was simply a design exercise. And you know the BMW i8, the futuristic looking hybrid car they made in 2013? That took some inspiration from our lovely supercar. In fact, it's the only mid-engine BMW since the M1, besides some concept cars that never got made. That includes the Vision M Next concept from 2019, another hybrid with similar design features. It pains me to say this, but the M1 doesn't get much attention in today's car enthusiast world. With everyone drooling over JDM cars, there's not many who admire the Euro classics that deserve the attention. It's just more of a collector's car more than anything, which I absolutely fucking hate, by the way. These amazing cars deserve to be driven, not stuffed in a garage just to collect dust until the owner decides they don't want it anymore. In any case, there are some real car enthusiasts that got a hold of these M1s and they did an amazing job with these things. There are some glamorous examples driving around today if you look hard enough. I myself hope to be able to modify one of these to my liking. The BMW M1 is legendary with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Our friend Paul Walker even used to own one. I first saw this car in a 2001 video game called Road Wars when I was a little one. I remember the M1 being my go-to car of choice. God, where would I be now if it weren't for video games of the early 2000s? So many hours dumped into fabulous Need for Speed games. They got me addicted to cars like heroin. Well, there you have it. The BMW M1. Kind of a sad story of a car that could have been so much more, but it will always be in our hearts. There's nothing quite like this thing. Thank you all for watching. I hope I was able to teach you all a a little bit about this car. Please leave a comment and tell me what cars I should take a look at next. Here's to hoping for a new version of the M1 in our future. I will see you all later.